As people become older, they become more independent, which means that peers play a greater role in their lives. With this comes peer influence from others, which can result in peer pressure. For example, in the AP College Board stimulus, The Holdout by Norman Rockwell, a woman who is a part of an all-men jury has to face the pressure of her peers who are trying to get her to side with them. Social pressure has been around for a while, and it does not seem like it will be going away anytime soon. Nowadays, the use and influence of social networking is continuing to grow, with the most used social networking among teens being Instagram. With social networking like Instagram continuing to become a big part and a common part of teenagers' lives, the likelihood that they may face peer pressure from it continues to increase. This begs the question of whether or not social peer pressure from Instagram is beneficial or detrimental to teens' health. I'm Antonio Rodriguez, and in the 21st century, to what extent does peer pressure from Instagram affect teens' health in the United States? So overall, in the 21st century, peer pressure from Instagram in the United States has negatively affected teens' health. So one of the reasons that peer pressure has negatively affected teens' health is that it has been detrimental to their emotional health. Peer pressure can cause decreases in self-esteem through unrealistic expectations, it can increase self-harm, and it can cause unhealthy changes in weight. As you can see in this graph by Dr. Ron Patrick, you can see that in 2000, the death of suicide rates went from 4.3 thousand all the way to 2017, which is 6.8 thousand. This is about a 58% increase, which is very important when considering that many of these kids are taking their lives. This is largely due to the fact that the use of Instagram exposes teens to cyberbullying from their peers. This is significant as victims of cyberbullying are more than twice as likely to self-harm and enact suicidal behavior than those who are not bullied. Instagram can cause more opportunities for teens to be cyberbullied, which means that the peer pressure from Instagram can cause more opportunities for teens to harm themselves. Another reason that peer pressure from Instagram can negatively affect teens is that it can negatively affect their mental health. It can cause increases in depression, increases in social anxiety, and it can maybe act as a distraction from work or school. As you can see in this graph by Jenna Palermo, taking a student's perspective, those who have experienced peer pressure through Instagram are 63% of the majority, while those who have not are only 37% in the red. Out of those 63%, 78% have shown signs of depression, while only 22% have shown signs of not being depressed. This is important because it shows a correlation between peer pressure from Instagram and increases in depression. The use of Instagram by teens leads to increases in peer pressure, which then leads to increases in depression. This is important because teens who are depressed are far more likely to have difficulty concentrating and experience memory loss, which could then lead to poor academic performance. This next graph also shows the increase in social anxiety from social media from the year 2010, where it was at 11% of the population of teens had social anxiety, all the way to 2020, where it has now increased to 25%, a 14% increase. This also shows an increase in social anxiety, which can be the outcome of peer pressure. An increase in anxiety can interfere with school, relationships, and enjoyment of life, which therefore means it could potentially control your life. Peer pressure from Instagram also contributes to teens' decision making. It can cause teens to become incapable of making their own decisions, and it can give them an incapacity to handle one's affairs. For example, in this diagram or image by teacher and researcher Jacobo Picardo, you can see that 74% of teens rely on Instagram to influence their purchasing decisions, 81% of teens are influenced by what their friends post, and 47% of teens have Instagram as the highest influence when making purchasing decisions. This demonstrates a severe lack of independence and a severe reliance from Instagram by teens. This is detrimental to their well-being, as peer pressure from others may cause them to make decisions that they wouldn't normally make without the influence of others. This results in a lack of identity, which is harmful as identity development in teens is important, and failing to establish it can lead to confusion of who the person thinks they are. So some solutions to this problem can be to encourage teens to seek help from a specialist to better cope with their peer pressure. Same thing with parents. They encourage parents to have open and honest conversations with their kids so that they can also better help cope with the peer pressure, and also have teens set boundaries for themselves so they don't do things that they wouldn't have done without peer pressure. However, some of these limitations are that it prevents teens from having a way to connect to others, and it doesn't give them a sense of belonging. It causes teens to feel even more disconnected, which could potentially be worse, and it makes teens feel like nobody's approachable. So in summary, in the 21st century, peer pressure from Instagram in the United States is a serious problem that needs to be solved as fast as possible. With social media like Instagram becoming a more common part in teenagers' lives, the likelihood that they may face peer pressure from it continues to increase. This is my works cited page. And questions?
I do have 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
First up, was there evidence that you gathered that you didn't use? And then if you didn't use it, why not?
So some evidence that I gathered was how it affects teens physically, but I decided not to use it because since my topic's more like the mental, emotional, and the decision making, I felt like it would distract from the others and make them not seem like as significant.
Okay. And what advice would you have for other researchers who consider this topic in the future?
For other researchers that consider this topic in the future, some advice I would have is maybe to research how it affects male and female, because it could be the 2 different variations, because maybe for males, they are experience peer pressure more and maybe are affected by more, or the other way around. So it could change the data.